Welcome back to the Business Blox podcast, episode 22, and it is week 3 of Melbourne restrictions, as well as the government has just announced JobKeeper, the August update for the rest of this year and into March next year. Do you just want to go over that, Dale?
Yep, so we'll cover that off. The government has released the details and given people all the information about what they can do going forward. So the way it works now is there's going to be a time when you come out of JobKeeper and you have to reassess, and that's at the end of the September quarter. What you would do then is you then reassess all of your income based that on the September quarter for the previous year. And if you're 30% down again, you can then go into JobKeeper for the next 3 months. So that will then put you out till the end of March. No, not March, till the end of December. So once you get to the end of December, you then reassess the December quarter again. So you check that your December quarter this year is 30% down or more on the December quarter for last year, and then that gets you out until March. So there's going to be another 2 points, one at the end of September where you need to reassess, and one at the end of December when you need to reassess again, and that gets you the next 3-month block. There's been changes to the eligibility for the employees now. Now, employees who were working from the 30th of June will now be eligible to get brought into JobKeeper from the 3rd of August. So that's to say that if you had an employee who started after March, so let's say they started on the 6th of May, and they continued to work all the way through until now, but weren't eligible because they weren't employed prior to that March original date, they are now eligible, so you can actually register now to get them in if they were employed before the 30th of June. That date of registration closes at the end of this month, so that's probably the most pressing thing that's coming in at the moment. So you need to register them in your JobKeeper program, your single touch payroll, get them to sign the forms and submit all that before they do the eligibility for the month that's just passed. Otherwise, you won't get in and you'll have to go into the next month.
And how does that affect? So what happens with casuals? If you brought on a casual in May, are they eligible, or is it still the full-time and part-time employees?
So it's still the 12 months with a casual, but they've moved the start date. So it was 12 months prior to March. Now it's a 12 month prior to June. So if they were working, then that's 30 June, so 1st of July. So if they were working on the 24th of June 2019 and they were a casual, they will be eligible for the new round, whereas they were missed out because of those few months this time around. So they've basically taken the original dates and moved everything up 3 months. So everything's 3 months later. The amounts will be going down, so I know that they will be shifting down to 1,200 and then 1,000, I believe, respectively. So the amount you get per employee for the December quarter will only be 1,200, and the one you get in the March quarter will be 1,000 at the moment. If you overpay employees, there's no way of clawing it back. So just make sure that if you're paying them, you've got to adjust it as you go.
So you can then change their work schedule for them to only work $1,200 worth of a fortnight. So you can reduce their hours to match that.
Yes. So only if you have become part of the JobKeeper program can you then play around with people's hours. That was a requirement of the original JobKeeper release. So they've bypassed the fair work laws that allow people to give people the work that they have, because that's all that they have. And you can effectively, you give them the hours that they're getting paid for. If you don't have any more work, if you have more work, you can continue to pay extra.
Yeah. Okay. So that, just to go back over that. So the government will be only expecting you to then be paying 1,200 and then
Yeah.
1,000 after the next quarter. Okay, so that 1,500 will come back down.
Yes.
Okay.
I think that's all with the JobKeeper announcements. There's the childcare changes. So if you're involved in a childcare centre from the 20th of July, you are no longer able to claim JobKeeper. So you have to remove everybody from the system. There was talk about mixed businesses. So if you run, say, a childcare centre with a aged care facility, you can split the two, so you can have half the business on JobKeeper if that's solely what they work on, some part-time things, but the childcare half. So if they work in childcare, if they manage childcare, if they cooks, cleaners, all of them aren't eligible for JobKeeper if they're childcare. But if they do work in the other section of the business, whatever that may be, you can then talk to your accountant or talk to your advisors and work out if you can still claim part of it. Other than that, that's about all that we've got on for JobKeeper. There was no further announcements, no further changes.
Go ahead. And what's your best
Yeah.
guess? Are we going to see more changes down the track, or is March going to be the end and we just sort of ride it out from here?
I would think March would be the end. I mean that's still talking. That's nearly what's that? 8 months, 6 months, more than that. A lot of months anyway. Yeah. So the vaccines are talking about coming in that stage. I think they'll work out how to run the lockdown much better. If we can get the numbers down, I would say that they won't have to force so far into a stage 4 lockdown, which is the reasoning I think everything got extended. If we can keep business operating, I don't see it moving past the March quarter. They've already extended it by a period greater than I thought they would. I mean, it was meant to end at the end of next month. Now they've said we'll give you 6 more months on top of that. That was a huge extension. I think this is it. I think it's all about working out how to transition. So how businesses are going to transition back to working, and I think that's the reason for the extended period. It gives them a bit more time to work out post COVID lockdown what they're going to do to start stimulating the economy. Give businesses 2 or 3 months worth of stimulated economy to get back on, and then cut it off. So I think that's sort of the theory behind it. It does seem to be more targeted. It does seem to be providing a better long-term outlook, which I think is what they're trying to do. So, hats off to ScoMo on this one. I think he did do the right thing, and he has provided long-term stimulus. And I think there will be other avenues around that they work to actually work with business, whether it's through project funding or changes to legislation or changes to the way business is conducted in order to get business moving. I mean, first home buyer grant is an example of that, or the whatever it was called, the home renovation grant.
Yeah,
I think we'll see more. Yeah. So we'll see industries who get an initial stimulation like that, hopefully to get them back on board. Just hopefully the economy's there. That's what we're looking at.
Yeah, and it's allowing the smoothing out of the unemployment figures as well. If obviously, people continue to go back to work, as well as if people have to get kicked off JobKeeper and those businesses close down, it all it balances out and it doesn't have these huge spikes in unemployment and keeps everyone at level playing field.
I think the biggest tell will come at the end of September. With the changes to the, or did they extend that as well? So they might. So where you didn't have to pay your loan, I think there's an option to extend that. I'm not quite sure, but that will be the big tell, where people have to go back to normal payments. I think that was a very big outlet for the whole system, where they said that you don't have to pay your loans. That gave the system breathing space. Putting that in place and clamping things back down will then start to grind the economy slower and slower. The people who weren't trading that efficiently and who were running businesses that were on the edge, or they were expanding at the wrong time, may encounter problems. So as we always say, get in early, start working out your game plan, build up your base, and then you should be able to see it out. If they are talking, I heard a figure a few weeks ago that they say that they believe 10% of businesses that are currently on JobKeeper won't open back up. That's the original estimates. So, you imagine 10% of the businesses in your area not opening up, that's a big hit to the economy.
Yeah. So, yeah, one of the restaurants I saw on Facebook in Nelson Place down in Williamstown, they've already put the thing out there finishing. I think they're finishing at the end of the month. Because obviously they can't get people into the restaurant, and takeaway wasn't enough. So with the rental on Nelson Place in Williamstown, that you're going to find a lot of places in that situation.
Of an already dying sort of strip mall thing. So all strip malls have been dying in Melbourne for years. This is maybe the nail in the coffin.
And how have you seen the policing of all this JobKeeper and stimulus with regards with audit? Like you were telling me about, you had a friend at the tax office in the audit department. What are they seeing?
Yeah. So we were trying to get a bit of an insight as to where the line was as to what they were seeing. And there's a lot of audits. So there's an automated system that's generating it's generating audits based on where you sit in the mean and the medium. So if you're at the extreme end of, you weren't showing any income or low wages, now you're showing $300,000 worth of wages, you're claiming all the JobKeeper, you're claiming all the cash flow boosts, you will get a desk audit, and they're finding that there are a lot of people who have just made things up. So they were saying that they had a case of pensioners, 3 pensioners all working for the same business, claiming JobKeeper, claiming cash flow boosts, where the business wasn't earning any money at all. And all they said is, we got paid cash. That was their explanation. We got paid cash. So so not all people have done the right thing. There are a lot of people that they're going through at the moment. It's a very big amount of money that they're giving people, which is the $100,000, which is what they're using to stimulate the search. So this is the cash flow boost. So that they're talking to people. They're running through it now. They've built up an audit team, and they're just going to keep rolling through them for the next 12 months. So I think there's a few that they're not paying based on the larger end of it, and they think it does look a bit suspicious. So they ask for supporting documents. Did you make the payments? Did you pay the super? All that sort of stuff. If you can't prove it, then they disallow. They will then move into another phase later on, where they start checking the people that they did pay, who were still at the extreme end, but probably not as bad as the ones they couldn't get to, and then saying, is it eligible? If not, disallow, pay it back, deal with that sort of thing. So they've moved a long way, and they also, that's the other thing they said, that the attitudes of the people in charge changed a hell of a lot from let's just get the money out to, all right, this system really needs to get policed and it needs to get reined back in, because people were just taking huge liberties just to get the tax credits.
Well, considering now it's one state that is really, like Melbourne is Australia, but there's only one state that is affected by the lockdown. So other states, they must be just about flagged, just based on where your business is located, because it's getting to, you couldn't justify too much right now. A lot of tests, revenue tests, would probably be passing. You'd be passing all your turnover tests. Unless your business was going to fail in the first place.
And they understand that too. So the ATO have got databases that do data matching based on area, based on industry, based on like businesses in the area. So they can see, you used to get like a sore thumb. So it's a system they rolled out, I would say probably 2 years ago, maybe a year ago. So when they redid the whole MyGov. So the MyGov system is a massive integrated system between all the services that does data mining. And that system was rolled out, I think it was about a year ago. and now it's up and running, and now they're using that to start to track people down.
Yeah, they're getting real information out of it, and you can see all the
Live,
slowly
too,
but
yeah.
surely their systems are coming into the 21st century.
And yeah, that's another reason why they're asking for matching information from when you go after the local government grants. So they're asking for your JobKeeper number, they're asking for your work cover number, and some other details, and those systems connect. So those systems now talk to each other. So if things are spiking that don't look like they should be spiking, you'll get a call and you get disallowed.
And what's the government, the Victorian government, have they got any grants? I know they increased the 5,000 to 10,000 for all businesses eligible. But
yes, there are a couple of more. So I think they've got a hospitality grant that's payable to hospitality industries that were closed down because of COVID in the area. So there's pubs, clubs, hotels, restaurants, cafes, anything like that. $25,000 one-off payment plus $5,000 per premises. Starts if you've got a payroll of 3,000, so it's not an attainable one for most people. Sorry, 3 million. Yeah, that's a big difference. So you need to have a base payroll of 3 million up to 10 million. So it's only tailored at those sort of franchise to sort of medium businesses. So there's a lot, and it's only 25,000, per 25,000 for the first premises, 5,000 for each additional, up to 45,000. So 45 grand if you got a payroll of $3 million. It seems a bit misguided. There's that one. Other than the increase to the business support extension, which was the 5,000 that turned to 10,000, that's about all that's happening. And the 5,000 that got turned into 10,000, it just happened. They didn't even announce it. So originally that grant was announced as a $5,000 grant, and then they just started paying 10. So I think the 5 was possibly announced pre-second lockdown, or it was pre-stage 4.
Yeah, it was. It was only suburbs. That's when it was limited to a particular postcodes. They had put stage 4 lockdowns to. And then since when it made it all Metro Melbourne was when they increased it.
And then they also released the 5,000 to the Greater Victoria. So outside of Metro Melbourne, now you can get 5,000 if you're in Victoria, basically. There's not, there's nothing else. Still the old grants. That's all they give you at the moment. Business support, I think, is where it's going to start to turn to now. I think that what they'll do is they'll wait for the numbers to start to decrease. Once they get them right down, it's looking at, I'd say they're working on now is how they're going to stimulate business growth. But yeah, watch this space on that one.
Okay, and then next week we're going to, assuming there's no more JobKeeper or stimulus updates, we're actually going to have Stuart from Loud Graphics on to talk about a bit of branding and how to get involved into that side of things of the business.
Yes, he's been giving us an education in all things graphic design, showing us what's what, a bit of back and forth. We think we know, but clearly he knows he's what he's up to. We'll get into what we've been doing with him. We'll talk about the benefits of what he does and the difference between, putting some good time and effort into a well-designed brand.
Yep, and the joys he's operating, working from home. Joys of being a freelancer.
This time and age is probably a good thing.
It's what everyone is doing at the moment.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll get into that next week. We'll bring on the first guest of the Business Blox podcast.
Go.
Exciting times.
Episode, was it 23 next week?
It'll be 23 next week.
Should have saved it for 25, but bring him on.
Yep, sounds good. I'll speak to you then, Dave.
Thanks, mate. See ya.